Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Coach's Corner. With me is Adam Geheb, focal point of Cary, and I'm Mike Lamb, focal point of Utah. We're excited to be here with you. We're recording episode 20 of Coach's Corner. Big news for us. We feel like, we've been doing this a long time, but we've hit kind of a benchmark. So,
That's what they
congratulations,
say,
Adam.
right?
Yep.
20 is a big one in the podcasting world. I don't really get why, but hey, yay us.
But we're here. We're consistent, and we'll be here for you every week.
That's
So,
right. That's right.
that's what coaches do.
That's right. So what do you have on tap for me today, Mike?
Yeah, so we wanted to discuss this morning something that we're both running into, and that's business owners and business leaders not dealing, but working with multi-generational talent. So from
Yeah.
the boomers to the Gen Zs. So we're all working with these individuals,
Yep.
of all age groups and having to manage them differently, possibly in each group, and understanding how to make a work environment that works with all of these generations. So what are you running into, Adam, with this type of thing?
Yeah. Love this topic. It's something that comes up a lot. And if you think about it, you know, when you talk about team building, you talk about team structure, you sit there at the end of year and you do evaluations on people, you end up putting people into categories, into slots, into buckets. And one of those buckets that we don't really think about is the generational one. And the reason why I find that important is because with each decade that passes, the wants, the needs, the time investment, the kind of viewpoint on due paying and immediate gratification versus hard nose to the grindstone, those types of things, you know, it all changes. And we've got this multi-generational workforce these days where everyone's different. And that makes the job of a leader that much harder because you're not just catering to one particular group. You're not just looking in the mirror and saying, what do I want? What do I need? What did I think I was doing at this time? Because, well, maybe 20, 30 years have passed since you were entering that workforce, and it's not the same. So, you know, I've been talking a lot about asking people to take some time out and sit down and review what is the makeup of their organization. And I don't just mean the ages, Mike, because I think that that's an easy cop out. I don't think it's age related, but knowing the people that you have and their drivers and their motivators, their communication styles, all those things are, I think, imperative to truly get the most out of that multi-generational workforce.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah, same. I mean, you could have someone in a certain generation and they're behaving completely like a different generation. So really boxing them into those things, that's just throw that away.
You
Um,
know, fun story. I was talking to someone on Friday, and they were talking about high turnover rates with bringing on young employees out of school. This is a very let's call it prim and proper job setting, right? And so they say every 1 to 2 years, these people want to either progress or they want to move out to go to a different firm or whatnot. And so I asked a very simple question, and it was, why do you keep hiring that same type of individual? And the room just got really quiet. And I said, well, think about that. You want to have stability within your workforce. You want to make sure that these people are sticking around for a period of time. You don't want the overhead to constantly train, retrain, move on, move work, figure out why someone did something, go through all the hassles and stress and rigor of the job progression path for each person. I'm like, did you ever think about going the flip side, looking for someone who's on the outside or the downside to their career that would actually crave that level of stability and may not need those same type of monetary, drivers that you would probably have when you're just entering the workforce. And once again, the room got quiet. I'm like, just something to think of. And I think that's really great advice to everyone is take a moment and think about how you're trying to solve these problems and what personality types and what drivers you're bringing into the organization. If that's not working for you, don't keep doing the same thing thinking you're going to hit that home run and get the needle in the haystack. That one, person who's going to stick with you for their entire career is going to be willing to wait and grow and to have jobs open up within the industry or within the org. Think outside and think about the true skills that you need that you're trying to fill, and then see if you can't get those in a different candidate type,
Yeah.
right?
Um,
Just a thought.
we talk about sa in sales, identifying your ideal customer, right?
Yeah,
Well, we're in sales with our internal customers too, right? So
sure.
we need to stop and identify what our ideal employee is and what that looks like. And again, that doesn't have to be their age or anything like that. It's certain traits or certain things that make an ideal employee and identifying that. And if it's we want long-term employees, then maybe we need to identify what age group that's in. Or if we want people that, I've worked in an industry where we knew that it was a stepping stone to something bigger. So we knew that we had those employees for 2 years and we had a short window of during college or shortly after college that they would come on. And that's going to be the ideal time for them to get the experience that they need and then move to the next thing. You just have to identify that in what's your ideal internal customer.
So, you know what you're really defining? Details of your wreck.
Yeah.
Think about it. This is not just the skills, hard, soft personality that you need, but taking into consideration things like longevity, comfort, um, willingness or eagerness to have drive or growth potential. Those are all things that I think multiple industries these days are overlooking. And in doing so, granted, wow, is this like turning into a team building discussion yet again? I love it. But in doing so, they're really not, they're not getting that right cog for that piece in the machine, right? What do you always hear me say? The greatest, fastest way to get efficiency in an organization is through what? Cohesion, right? Keeping your people together, keeping them moving, growing together. You've heard me say that 1,000 times. Everyone else who hears me speak had heard me say that. The same thing can be said around your hiring practices. Think about the longevity and the actual shelf life of each person that you're going to have brought into that organization. That'll go a long way with helping to keep that cohesion in place,
Yeah.
right? That doesn't mean that you can disregard certain types and you only hire certain types of people. As a leader, that means you still have to be changing your communication styles. You still have to be able to relate and understand, everyone's wants and needs. And this is where I'm going to flip this back to you because you love this. What is that one thing that we as coaches do traditionally better than most other people?
Active listening.
Bingo,
And
right?
that's one thing I coach on
Bingo.
most too, is how to be an active listener and how to not just sit there and pay attention, but there's some basic skills you can do to become an active listener and even improve your listening abilities.
Hmm.
One thing I always like to talk about is mirroring. When somebody says
Ooh.
something, we say that back to them, okay, that's what you said. And then summarizing it like, okay, I've got all this information from you. Am I understanding this right? And then we can really get to the things that are below surface, not just the surface values. So when we're interviewing somebody and identifying somebody for a job, oftentimes we look at the surface things that, their behavior and statements and things they say. But we really need to look below the surface and identify those below the surface needs that people have, like their feelings and emotions,
Yep.
perceptions, beliefs, needs and desires and their
Yep.
values that they
Okay.
identify with. And
So
that's when we can truly understand them and understand where they're coming from and help them as an employee to succeed.
you can see I'm smiling, so you should start to get scared because I'm going to go down and ask all kinds of fun questions.
Okay.
So, what do you say to the manager that says feelings, emotions, that stuff doesn't belong in the workplace? I'm paying you to do a job. What do you say to those people?
Unfortunately, we all want to not belong in the workplace, but it's we are we are humans. and we have feelings and emotions, and we have to give space for that and understand that that's just a part of the human experience.
Okay.
Um,
So a
and
follow-up question, I guess, is so would you say that that is the fault with the candidate or that person within the organization, or is that a fault with the leader in not being able to understand the importance of the dynamic that emotions and feelings play with the efficiency of the team, or
I'm
both?
I think I would go with the leader because they have to understand that because there's going to be every type of personality on your team, and hopefully you have every type of personality on your team. You want that.
Okay,
And if
why?
Because if I mean we could get way off on personality stuff, but I'm not going to go
No.
there. But we need to have a well-rounded team that has all the tools that we need to do our job or do
Okay.
our run our business. Whether that's somebody that's there all the time to do their job, doesn't take things emotionally, or if there's somebody that really has high emotions and may understand the feelings of your customers or of other employees and take those on. Um, because if we just avoid those things as a leader and don't understand them, it creates some serious conflict in the workplace and even withdrawal from employees that aren't understood and
Mhm.
disengagement from what we're trying to accomplish as a team. If we don't understand them as a leader and give place for that, we're going to set some of our employees up for failure, which is the last thing
Yep.
any employer leader wants. We can't create a space that allows people to fail and not give room for everyone.
So, I asked that high level question, well, why do we need different personality types? Why do we need differentiation within the workplace? And, um, once again, I chuckled and smiled because, I know that this is something that's going down a path that you and I both love. But there's this one slide in slide decks that I know you and I both use because we share a lot of our material back and forth. And, it basically says, same old thinking equals same old outcomes. When you've surrounded yourself as a leader, as part of the team building process, or just subconsciously with pulling in people like you, either ones that think like you, talk like you, come from the same background as you, or of the same age as you, etc., what you've done is you've increased the likelihood that you're going to have a one-sided mind in terms of the decision-making process and the outcomes that you should be having.
I
You
believe it's
have
called
limited,
groupthink is what it's called.
I'm sorry,
It's
what's it
called
called?
groupthink, where everyone
Groupthink. Bingo.
ends up going with one direction and you have
Bingo.
the
And
same.
so, what you've really done, if that's something that you've done in your organization, you've limited your potential. You have put a governor on your ability to go fast or to just steer the organization in a different direction.
Yeah.
That can be so scary, right? So diversity is great. And I know that some people, shun when that word comes up, right? They're like, yeah, we don't need all that. Well, you kind of do, for reasons that we just discussed. And it plays really well into this paradigm and this thought process around what do you do in a multi-generational environment? You have to embrace the difference. And you don't call out the difference as being these are things we want to stay away from. It's not like taboo things where we don't talk about them, like, religion or politics in business, right? Those are, I get that. But you need to embrace people's backgrounds and their differences, their thinking, how they go through their problem solving. Um, that's how you're going to grow as a leader. It's how you're going to grow and evolve as an organization. And it's how you're going to have the largest growth potential, within your org.
Yeah. You think about that, and I think you immediately go to like, oh, this is going to create conflict in
It could.
in our team. But you know what? I'd say let's do this. Conflict is good. Healthily manage conflict and taking that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, but managing it can build a more cohesive team and it promotes learning and engagement. And just sometimes those dissenting or different opinions it might feel uncomfortable when it happens, but it can lead to the greatest growth in your team and in your
It can.
business, and it improves everything.
It
How we
can.
deliver our services, it improves our customer interactions, it improves everything. Because not one customer is the same, right? Not two customers are the same. Having those different personalities on our teams helps us to deliver our product to every generation or every type of person, and we have to have that. A little bit of conflict is good. I always
Yeah.
encourage that.
You just brought up a really great thought stream for me, which is, you know, if we're having these types of discussions with leaders about what you called our internal clients, I think that the same type of questioning line of thinking, understanding, evaluation needs to happen at the external. Because if you, once again, and this is something you and I talk about a lot, if you don't know who you're marketing to, if you don't know who your clients are, if you don't know their sales cycle, if you don't know, anything about them that either aids or detracts from your ability to reach them and to resonate with them, then you're losing out. So, to kind of back all this up, I would say a good multi-generational leader is someone who has the ability to understand all the different groups that they have available to them, the skill sets that each of those people provide, the drivers that really push those people forward, what are their motivators, etc. And more importantly, knows how to leverage each of those strengths and get the most, whether that be incentivizing financially, whether it be incentivizing through free time, whether it be group or social activities. All of these things can be factors to different people. So don't limit yourself with only thinking that everyone thinks like you
Yeah,
because they don't.
because what motivates you may not motivate someone else.
Not everyone just wants to jump to Friday. Some people actually love the work week. I'm shocked to say this, but I do. I don't think I ever used to. I think I probably hated it. Sunday nights were the worst night of the week for me because why? Monday was coming and I was going to deal with all the challenges and all the nonsense and all the bureaucracy of things that I just didn't want to deal with. Now
So,
I look forward to it. Why is that?
you know what leads to stress for people the most? One of the main stressors is when we're adapting who we are to fit another.
I know what you just did there.
Yeah, and when we're
Adaptive versus natural, right?
yeah, when we're
Yeah.
changing who we are to a work environment, it causes stress. We don't, it's not identifiable, like this incident is what caused
Yeah.
me stress. Like you think we're programmed as humans to handle stress, but sometimes those internal stresses that are happening that we can't even identify that are taking place is like, oh man, I gotta go to this meeting that I hate. It's not enjoyable. Nobody says anything positive, and we really don't get anywhere out of it. And I feel like they talk for a long time. That causes the stress that we start preparing for maybe a week in advance of a meeting or something like that.
Mhm.
And if you're stressing for a meeting a week from now, maybe that's because you have a deadline, or maybe it's because it's not like your ideal meeting and how it should look. And even those type of meetings or events, we need to think about people that have different stressors. I used to run a sales training every year, and I knew there were certain personalities that we'd have at that meeting that needed visitors. And it changed the meeting one year. We had
Like
visitors there.
fidget spinners?
Yeah, little spinners. Just there was a lot of popping noises going on and stuff. It helped those people that have stress in those environments to feel more comfortable, and so they're not having to adapt their persona because they do that while they're sitting at their desk sometimes. Yep, there you
I'm
go.
always playing with
I do
something,
the
so
I
I
do
love
the
it,
pin
right?
flip.
Pen? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, taking what you just said and tying that back into the generational topic here. Um, let's say, let's just hypothesize or let's envision, excuse me. We have a series of, you know, 20, 30-year career vets in a room, and you have just brought in your first employee straight out of college, right? So you have this huge divide gap of maybe 20, 30, in some cases 40 years. What do you think that person who's just coming in Do you think they're going to be natural in their behavior patterns? Or do you think they're going to try to adapt to some of the more seasoning and the experience that's in that room? What do you
They
think?
might be a very extroverted person and come to that meeting and be super introverted,
Okay,
right? Oh
perfect.
my gosh,
Perfect.
this guy's been doing it for 20 years. I'm not going to.
Intimidated, right?
Yeah. Yep. I'm not going to.
Imposter syndrome, that person's, you're probably not going to get the best out of that person. So,
No.
now if I'm running that particular team, not only am I going to think about that and think about how that person is going to react, I'm also going to think about the other side of that spectrum. Are there going to be people that change their behavioral style because they don't know how to interact with, those on the other side? And the answer is probably going to be yes. But more importantly, I'm going to think about how I'm running that meeting, right? I'm probably not going to continue to have the same hour-long meeting with the same structure, the same cadence. Once again, we like to show our age on this program, but Bueller, that same monotonous
Yeah.
type environment. You have to think attention spans are different. And so you can't just continue to lead and have your operations in that same manner when you're bringing in a new cog to that machine, right? You may have to have more, I don't know, let's just call it changes with the operations. And I'm not saying that one side likes things quick and easy and the other side likes things long and drawn out. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm
Yeah.
saying know the audience and know the dynamics and the potential shifts that you'll have to make as a leader to make sure that you truly are setting the environment up to get the most out of everyone. Because is that not what our job is as leaders?
It's 100% what our job is. If
It's
we're
it's no longer about being the smartest guy in the room or gal in the room. You know, it's not about having all the answers and having everyone look at you to drive things forward. No, no, that's wrong. And that's what's gotten so many of us in the positions where we either left our industry or more importantly, saw failures. Our job is to get the most out of people, to bring the best and brightest and figure out how to utilize them and put all the pieces together so that thing runs smoothly, efficiently every single time. And if we focus that same level of energy on looking at the multi-generational divide within our teams and understanding, truly understanding through active listening, through categorization, through knowing your audience and knowing how to get the best out of each of those, don't you think that that just benefits the organization?
100%. And try and fail. If you didn't try to change your meeting or do something different to make it work for everybody, then you're never going to move forward. Maybe you'll fail, or maybe
Yeah.
you'll find something that's just like being that is the perfect way to handle this situation and be open to getting feedback. That
Ooh,
get that feedback on those type of situations from everyone, not just walk over to your trusted person in the group. Like, how did that go?
how to go? Yeah.
How'd that,
Well,
did you like that?
man.
They're going to give you positive feedback.
That
Probably. Oh, yeah, that went great, Bob. We bobbed it up here.
that
I like the bobs.
I know. If anyone has a red swingline stapler, I apologize for our references. But
But we get that feedback loop that we
yeah,
is not necessarily growing. So we need to get that feedback from everyone, even if it's negative or if it's just suggestions.
you know,
And taking those and utilizing them.
Mike, that's a super insightful point. And it's not just getting the feedback, but it's how you're getting the feedback. Not everyone is going to be comfortable to come up and tell you, right? Especially if they disagreed. You know what? Hey, Bob, that was really a terrible meeting. I'm going to need you to fill out your TPS reports and get back. Say no. Some people are going to want, anonymous ability to provide feedback
Well,
or,
secondary feedback for me has actually been a great way to get feedback. Sometimes I'll have to go to somebody that's a trusted um, informant, or I don't even know how to put it, but
informant,
somebody that's talking to the team that might be
a narc. Yeah.
talking to them and getting feedback that they're not confident to give to me. Sometimes that
You're right.
secondary feedback's the most like it's confidential, but it also gives you the most feedback that's you can build off of, and it might be most critical too.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. I think I'll drop my last. This is not even a pearl of wisdom, obviously, but my last comment here. Um, one of the things that I think we provide in terms of the most value as a coach is the ability to have a very open and honest space for people can talk, speak their ideas, and brainstorm, and know that it's not just something that's going to go in one ear and out the other, or it's not just we're not going to respond with a knee-jerk reaction and a quick answer of this is how you should do it, right? It's not solutioning, it's not problem solving, it's the coaching versus solutioning mindset and how it's different. But more importantly, you know that you're going to have someone who's going to challenge your beliefs, challenge your expectations, and help you see the best path forward that you may not be able to see through your own lenses, right? And I think that's one of those things that when we do have these multi-generational discussions with leaders, it's asking the people to look through another lens. It's
Yeah.
getting them to think about the emotions, the feelings, the experiences, the comfortability that people have in certain situations, and think about is that really the environment, the ecosystem, the structure that's getting the most out of those groups of people? I don't know, but I think it's a great conversation and I love having it.
Yeah, I think that summarizes it well, Adam. You know, it's if you want to be a better leader, lead and lead with not
Leaders lead, man. Leaders lead.
yeah, and lead and get the feedback and lead everyone, not just the ones that are, jumping
Perfect.
in line behind you, because then
Perfect.
your business and your team's going to be so much stronger for it. So
Yes, sir.
that's about everything I have this week. As always, you can find us on LinkedIn or social medias and catch the podcasts on most streaming platforms at this point, Spotify, Podbean, Apple, and YouTube. So
That's right.
grab it where you like it. And thanks for tuning in.
Happy 20th, Mike. And here's our next 20, okay?
Yeah.